DNA, modern-day crime fighter, or privacy villain. Great advancements in crime solving have been made in the last century. Modern technology allows law enforcement to solve crimes with a greater degree of accuracy than ever before by matching crime scene DNA to potential criminals. But it is not without its drawbacks. Detectives are increasing the conviction rate through the use of modern technology, and cold cases are being reopened and solved. But our privacy and legal rights may be under attack. What is DNA? DNA is our personal blueprint. It is a set of markers that contain our genetic information. It's what makes you different from everyone else. In 1984, a geneticist named Alec Jeffreys discovered that one section of our DNA was virtually unique among individuals. In fact, our DNA profiles are so unique that only identical twins share the same profile. The discovery led to a breakthrough in how crimes are solved. Before the use of DNA, suspects were usually identified through crime scene fingerprints. But this was not an exact science, and it was only useful if the suspect left a complete print. Now, using DNA evidence, detectives can conclusively link a suspect to the crime, and DNA technology is improving every day. Previously, a complete DNA strand was required to make a match. Recent advances now allow for a match to be made using fragmented DNA. And DNA isn't being used just for conviction. It is also being used to free those who were wrongly imprisoned. The Innocence Project has used DNA sampling to free over 356 people who were imprisoned for crimes that they didn't commit. 20 of these people were on death row. DNA can be used to crack cold cases as well. In recent news, DNA was used to arrest a man accused of over 50 rapes and 12 murders, which were committed between 1974 and 1986. Joseph James DeAngelo, a 76-year-old former police officer, is now accused of being the Golden State Killer. Matching DNA to old crime scenes is not new. But the way that Mr. DeAngelo was tracked down is both new and frightening. DNA extracted from his victims was matched to DNA that was posted to a public genealogy website. Genealogy websites like 23andMe collect DNA samples from people who are looking to connect with long-lost relatives. It then matches people based on their common genetic markers. In Mr. DeAngelo's case, police were able to match crime scene DNA to a distant relative. They then followed the branches of his family tree until they isolated a suspect. While this is great news to the families of the victims, the privacy implications of this case affect each and every one of us. The DNA of convicted sex offenders has been stored in national databases for decades now. But recently, the databases have been expanded to include DNA from convicted felons. Now, some states have started storing samples from everyone who's been arrested, even before they are convicted of a crime. Once a sample is collected and stored, the question of who owns the sample arises. Can your genetic material become the property of someone else? And what are they allowed to do with it? Will the information contained in the sample be used against you in any other way? Suppose the information was made public, and you were denied a job because you have a history of cancer in your genetic makeup. Recent research has even linked the potential for extremely violent crimes to a DNA marker. If a positive link can be shown between the marker and violent crimes, it may be possible to stop crimes before they happen. But at what cost? You could be labeled a potential criminal without ever breaking the law. If this information were to be made public, you could possibly be denied housing, insurance, employment, and more. Perhaps the information would be used to test every newborn child. We can then isolate those with the marker away from the rest of society, ensuring we all live in a world free from violence. It may sound like the plot of a science fiction movie, but the potential is frighteningly real, and the technology is here today.